Okay, Major Capital Purchases 101. In this lesson, we're going to keep things a little more high level. We're going to use our visuals with our personal economic model, and we're going to see exactly how these major capital purchases fit into our entire financial situation here. We're not going to be using any specific numbers in this lesson. We're not going to get into interest rates, rate of returns, and we haven't even talked yet up until this point about specific products in order to actually make all this work. But before we dive into all those details in future lessons, I want to make sure this concept is crystal clear. So in Major Capital Purchases 101, we're going to keep things visual and we're going to talk about just what is major capital purchases. All right. Now, first of all, what is it? Well, it's anything that we can't pay for through monthly cash flow. Most commonly would be cars, weddings, college, maybe an investment in real estate or a business of some sort, or whatever the case may be, but it's a large chunk of money, maybe a down payment on your first house. Something like that is what we would call a major capital purchase. All right, so financing it using other people's money is the first option. Now, by using other people's money, we're going to need to borrow somebody else's money. So we've got our money here, but remember, these tanks are for the future. In case we lose our income or when we retire and we voluntarily no longer have any more income, we need these tanks for our future. So we're going to use somebody else's money as one of the options to pay for these major capital purchases. A car loan, a student loan, whatever the case may be, these are loans that we're going to be using to pay for these major capital purchases. All right. Now, we will be, if we do that, we will be paying principal and interest to the lender. So you can see out of our cash flow, some of that green goes towards current lifestyle. Some of that, which is the red, is going to pay back the lender for the money that we borrowed. Now, one of the things about using other people's money is that you're going to be paying them back over time with future income, giving you control of all of your money, meaning you're maintaining control because you're not spending it. So you're using somebody else's money, which means you have control of your money over time. Now, the second way to pay for these major capital purchases would be what we would call self-financing. Now, self-financing is when we actually pay cash or we drain our tank to pay for these major capital purchases. Like I said before, people get really excited when they can pay cash for a car, they can pay cash for the kids' college, whatever the case may be. They get really excited if they can afford it or if they've had enough money saved. But remember, this was our future lifestyle tank. This was money that we needed to live on in the future, and we've just drained it, which now means that we actually need to replace that so that we can have it in the future. We have to replace it with cash flow, future cash flow. So instead of using future cash flow to pay back the lender for the loan, now we're using future cash flow to refill our tank that we used to pay cash for that major capital purchase. But don't forget, you also need to pay back the interest that you would have earned. Because remember, this tank was designed for your future. So if you drain that tank and you give up all the interest that that tank could have earned, you don't want to just pay back the tank to where it was. You want to pay back the tank plus interest that you could have earned. All right, so what are some of the things to consider when you're paying for a major capital purchase? Well, never drain a future asset for a current lifestyle. That's a rule of thumb that you should follow. Never drain a future asset, whether it's this tank or this tank. Don't drain a future asset for a current lifestyle expense. All right, you finance everything you buy. Every major capital purchase, whether it's college, a car, a wedding, whatever the case may be, you are going to finance it. You are either going to pay cash or you're going to use other people's money, right? So borrow somebody else's money, pay them back interest, or pay cash and give up the interest that you could have earned. And remember, if it costs you 5% to borrow the money and you're earning 5% on your money, then it doesn't really matter which one you do. But wouldn't you rather maintain control of your money in case of an emergency or in case of an opportunity that comes along. So there's other things to consider as well, like access to the money and how important that is, and stability and safety, and just being able to sleep at night knowing that you have a nice savings account built up. Now, for those of you who are only familiar with savings accounts with your local bank, and you know that they're not paying very much interest, probably less than 1%, depending on when you watch this video, it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to show you some other products that are also considered safe that can pay higher returns in that 5 to 8% range and still considered to be safe. So now if you're borrowing money at 4%, you can still earn a positive spread. So let's go ahead and dive into some more of these details.